Gather around, Skull Brothers and Sisters. This is Minnesota Sports Talk, presenting Under the Lights with your hosts, Justin and Dave, next in 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, Vikings fans. This is Under the Lights with Justin and Dave, and this is Wild Card Week edition. The Vikings are playing a playoff game this Sunday. Oh, by the way, the Packers are not, but we'll get back to that. Right now, first and foremost, we got Rhino, and he is from Vikings Uncensored. If you don't already follow Vikings Uncensored, please like, comment, and subscribe to their channel. Rhino, how are you this evening?
Doing well, boys. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome, man. Packers
Well, like
losing.
I said, the Vikings are playing Sunday, and the Packers ain't. But hey, what else could be better than that?
It's a good day.
It is always a good day.
Thanks to number 7, whoever you are, the rookie from the Packers, getting that 15-yard penalty.
Quay Walker.
And
yeah.
I think I don't know if you watched the whole game, but I think that was the first time I ever seen someone run out the clock doing a hook and ladder. You know, it's like I'd never seen anybody attempt that trying to run out the clock. That was awesome.
I got a kick out of it at the end, though. When they were getting down there and they were up by 4 points, common sense would have been kick the field goal to go up by 7. But Dan Campbell's like, screw it. We came here to knock Green Bay out, and we're going to do it.
Dang right. Well, that's the funny part of it is, well, it was such an aggressive move. It's an aggressive move to get 1 yard to win the game versus kicking a field goal and giving the ball back to Rodgers. So if he scores a touchdown, they can go for 2. If 1 yard is all you need to end that game. So bottom line is this, I didn't get to see too much of it. I only got to see the last 2 minutes, but it was really nice to see that smirk that Aaron Rodgers has get completely wiped off of his face. But first question we generally ask, Rhino, is how long you been a Vikings fan? What got you into it? That sort of thing. So the floor is yours.
How long have I been a Vikings fan? Probably very early 80s. I'm not quite old enough to remember the end of the Purple People Eaters and Fran Tarkenton, but rolling into that, Tommy Kramer and all that stuff in the early to mid 80s and stuff, that's kind of right in my wheelhouse where I was old enough to start understanding football and being able to follow it. So been through all the ups and the downs, everything except the Super Bowls. I think I was 2 years old the last time Vikings were in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Beyond that, as far as our, with Vikings Uncensored goes, Lance and I started this at the beginning of last season. So we are, be having our 93rd episode this week. So, been pushing and going on that and talking Vikings. So
I'll get your YouTube channel link in the description below. If it's not there already, wait a few minutes, guys. I'm going to put it in there, and I'll put his Twitter handle in for it too.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and you already put it in the chat. So
I put it in the chat, absolutely.
Hey, for the future for the guests who are going to watch this later, I'm putting it in the description.
There we go. All right.
There you go. Well, one thing we always try to do is not step on our guest toes, but we also like to include the listeners here. So we just give some quick shout outs. I Am Life says the Vikings need to work together. That's how you win. I'm sure we'll get into that as well. Hello to all Win Vikings. Thank you, Jim, as always, for joining us. Dave, we see you all the time. Reggie, thanks again for joining us. He's already got your name up in there. Bandino and McAndrews, you guys are stalwarts. Thanks again for coming. Hit that like button on both channels, both on Purple and Cold for Days and Minnesota Sports Talk, so we get that algorithm aggregated and get some more people in here. But I guess the last question on the introductions there, Rhino. So did you grow up in Minnesota or?
No, I'm born and raised in North Dakota, and of course, the Vikings are the closest team. My dad followed the Vikings when I was growing up, not a whole lot now. Unfortunately, my mother is from Wisconsin, so half of my family are Packers fans, including my mother and my sister. So you can about imagine how some of those weekends during the season goes.
That had to be fun Christmas weekend, huh?
Yeah.
I was born in North Dakota too, man. Devil's Lake, North Dakota. But I never lived there really. It was the nearest hospital. So
there you go. What's up, Raymond? Thanks for joining us. Sneaky Pop-Tart, as always. Hey, like I said, thanks everybody for joining us. So I guess the first question I'll ask, and then I'll flip it over to Dave. What were your expectations going into this season with the new coach, new GM, new culture and all this other stuff? We finally have the regular season results, but I'm curious to know, Ryan, what going into the season, what were you thinking this team was going to be?
As far as, what we were expecting, I think I had us pegged at about 10 wins. When starting off, we had no idea what to expect when it came to what the O'Connell and the staff were going to do. How, we basically ran the team back, just inserted new coaching staff, but showing what the difference a culture change can do to an organization. That when we start getting closer and closer to that 10 wins, then I'm sitting here thinking, if we only win 10 games, this is going to be a disappointment. So
right.
They definitely exceeded what I expected, but as the season went, of course, and the expectations changed. So
yeah, I went to it thinking 7 to 10 wins because that's what they always do outside of a handful of seasons. And one stat that I kind of found earlier on was this is the 18th season that the Wilf family has owned this team. And so just like the Vikings in general, in their 17 seasons, they're pretty much always okay, never very often horrible and never very often great. They've had 4 seasons with 6 wins or less. They've had 3 seasons with 11 wins or more. And then, okay, that leaves 10 seasons with between 7 and 10 wins. So it was a pretty good bet for me. But I think the expectations, as you said, have been raised. We'll talk about playoffs in a little bit here later. But Dave, remind me, where were you at? Were you at 11 or 12? I forget.
When the schedule came out, I went 12-5. I said our floor was 10-7, and our ceiling was 13-4. The ceiling got hit, which is cool. When I look at us now, though, and I think we probably aren't a 12-5 team, but hey, we are. So the record is who you are. So I'll go with it. But I thought. There were some teams that ended up being better than I expected on our schedule, like the Giants are a little bit better. The Lions were a little bit better than I expected. So the schedule ended up being a little bit more, and I didn't think we would beat Buffalo. It's just there's certain things that happened this season that I didn't expect, but I thought we had a weak enough schedule that 12-5 was, a pretty good guess. And and I think next year we actually we had 12 games where we're going to have 500 or less, but the Lions actually are now 9-8, so that takes 2 of those games away. So we have 10 games now that are 500 or less. So
So I guess, well, David, you want to go next?
I just went.
Oh, okay. Doesn't mean you can't do 2 in a row, but
hey, thinking about that Packers game, I don't want to leave that too far.
Yeah,
leaving the game, I think it was Williamson from Detroit went up to Aaron Rodgers and said, "Do you want to do a jersey swap?" And he says, "I'm holding on to this one." I think most people reading into that he's keeping because that might have been his last game as a Packer. Are we hoping? I mean, look at his. Who's going to have that contract? I mean, does he get traded? I assume. I guess he gets traded. Maybe and who's going to take that trade? I guess someone that's just missing that piece, or thinks they missing that quarterback. Like, I don't know, Denver. They got a situation there. I'm like San Francisco. Do they trust Purdy? And that was his dream to go play for San Francisco out of college. What do you think's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers?
It's kind of funny because,
or does it hurt your ears to even say that name?
Anytime there is turmoil and discord across the border in Wisconsin, I'm there for it.
Let's get on it.
I'm all in on that. Personally, my thought on this whole thing is Aaron Rodgers has become Brett Favre when it comes to will I retire, won't I retire? Oh, I'm going to go down to Brazil and sniff mushrooms and go on a psychedelic voyage for 2 months or whatever and try to decide what I'm going to do. And then he's going to show up, walking into training camp looking like Nick Cage from Con Air like he did last year.
That was my biggest tweet. I got 16,000 views off of that. Or not tweet, but short, man. That was funny.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what he's going to do. It wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him hang it up, but also wouldn't surprise me one bit to see him kind of hold Green Bay over the barrel, because like you were talking about, that contract is an albatross around his neck. It's not going to be very many teams that would be able to take that on. So time will tell, I guess. You're on mute there, Justin.
What in the world happened there? I've got the numbers on his contract. We want to go over that here real quick. So 2023's cap number is 31 million. Next after that is 40, 59, and 53. But what really gets the Packers here is there's not a whole lot of guaranteed money in it, but when he signed that ridiculously huge signing bonus, that spreads out over the life of the contract. So if they were to cut or trade him prior to June 1st of this coming season, that's only a dead cap hit of $99.7 million. So that's just not going to happen. Now, if they trade him post June 1st, then 30 of that will hit the 2023 cap, and the remaining 67 and change will then accelerate to the 2024 cap. Just call it an albatross might be an understatement, but I don't know what happens if he retires. No, I don't know how the cap works if a player retires or not, but that's what the Packers are looking at. And the question I was going to ask is, what do you think is going to happen, putting aside the salary cap ramifications? Do you think he's coming back? Do you think he just wants to be done? What do you think, Rhino?
Honestly,
you're Aaron Rodgers expert. We brought you in since you have half your family.
Of course,
half your family's Packer fans.
Right.
You are now our designated.
I'm now the Rodgers expert.
You're Rodgers expert, yeah.
All right. Honestly, I say it's probably 60-40 he comes back.
Yeah.
He like I said, he could very well hang it up, but I think there's still that arrogance to him that he's not going to like the way he went out. He's going to want to come back again and, go out on top like so many of the guys that have, the true Hall of Fame quarterbacks and all that stuff. Those guys have gone out with more than one Super Bowl ring and that kind of stuff. And I think that eats at him. And we all know Aaron Rodgers is one of the most petty, belligerent players in the game. So nothing would surprise me with what he does, to be honest with you.
And I think he could wait. I think he can use to leverage control. Like, hey, I want out of here unless you draft this type of player, or you get me this type of player. I think he's probably towards the end of the year a little more satisfied with his receivers than he was at the beginning. They sure do drop a lot of balls though. But Watson is looking pretty good. Lazard's still serviceable, but I don't know what Lazard's situation is. But
he's a free agent this year.
Yeah, he's okay.
I actually saw
he was asked the question. He was asked the question. He says, "Well, I know where I'll be. Where will you be, man? I thought you were a free agent."
Yeah, it was no. What they asked him, it was if somebody asked him if he knew
Aaron Rodgers,
what Rodgers was going to do, and he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. How the hell am I supposed to know what Rodgers is doing?
Well, I thought he said, I know where I will be. I thought he said, I know where I'll be. I don't know. Maybe I heard it wrong, but yeah.
To me, it sounded like he was kind of thinking he's probably gone from Green Bay.
It's like music to my ears, guys. Music to my ears. Turmoil in Green Bay. Why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still have Mercedes Lewis, who, if he does decide to retire, can sign up for AARP and get Social Security next year, I think. So.
Well, I think we probably took up a lot of the show about the Green Bay Packers, so let's kind of move on. My big thing is, outside of the defense, we'll always talk about that, but let's just the offensive line. Now, Chris Reed is a good player. I think he's a good player. He just never snapped in the NFL before, so why not? Let's just throw him out there. So I think if he gets that down, we'll be okay there. And Ole Udoh is actually revitalized his career playing the position he was made to play, which was right tackle instead of right guard or left tackle. So I was seriously worried about our offensive line. I've come down from the ledge a little bit thinking, hey, we could get we could solidify this. Maybe Bradbury comes back the next game. We'll find out tomorrow if he gets to practice. But what do you think about this offensive line?
I mean, this past week, I really wasn't all that concerned with it because, let's be honest, Chicago did not want to win that game. So I wasn't too concerned there, and I think it was a good game for Reed to get some play under center, to get kind of used to things a little bit. Oli Udoh, I've always thought was a better tackle than a guard. I mean, we all saw how awful he was playing the guard position last year, but he's significantly better at right tackle.
It still haunts me.
It does, yeah. It does.
I see yellow flags going off for holding and false starts in my dreams. With Oli Udoh's name called.
Right. Now, this week, I think is going to be a significantly harder test when you got guys like Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and those guys coming after us. And as we saw Christmas Eve, we know how Wink Martindale likes to blitz. It's going to be a true test, I think, this weekend to see if that 2 weeks that we've had to kind of get these guys up to speed, actually is paying dividends, or is Kirk can be running for his life all day long.
Well, to your point about this past week, playing the junior varsity squad that is the Chicago Bears, yeah, they look good, but they should be looking good. They don't have Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack anymore. As you said, we all know that they did not give two hoots about winning that game and are very much happy that, Lovie Smith gave him one last present before he got out of Houston. But I'm just going to say this. I am torn about whether we should make the center change if Garrett Bradbury is healthy. I think Reed is a little bit better of a pass blocker. I think Bradbury is a little bit better as a run blocker. But when you already have, a replacement right tackle, I mean, what do you think, Ron? Do you think if Bradbury is good to go, do you put him back in, or do you just roll with what you've got right now?
If Bradbury is good to play 100%, I put him back in. Now, I'm going to addendum that with saying I never thought in my life that I would hear myself say I want Garrett Bradbury in on that offensive line. But, that this year under this new system, Bradbury has had a resurgence, kind of like, what's his name, Allen with the Rams last year before, and he was hurt most of this year. But in that system, Allen was a very poor center, but due to the coaching and the style and everything, made significant strides in their Super Bowl year last year. And the same thing happened with Bradbury this year. I mean, I know Lance and I talked about this on our show during the preseason and stuff over and over again about center being one of our biggest concerns. And we were worried that Bradbury was going to be like the Bradbury of the last couple of years and get forklifted into the 12th row every time they pass rushed, But to his credit, I think he played very well this year, considering definitely way better than he had been playing. And if they deem him healthy enough to go and he can play, I put him in there.
Well, you don't have to feel too bad, Rhino, because absolutely every single solitary Vikings fan, if you had told them 1 year ago today that we would be clamoring and hoping for Garrett Bradbury to start, every single one of us would have said, you are outside your daggone mind. And we all kind of laughed at O'Connell at during the offseason in minicamp. Oh, you know what? This Garrett Bradbury guy's not so bad. Yeah, okay, coach, we get it. You're putting, a little sunshine at him. But pleasant surprise. I mean, what have we said, Dave? We just need to have hopefully a competent offensive line to just, allow Kirk Cousins to do what he does best. He's kind of the biggest quarterback difference between, bad offensive lines and good offensive lines. But this offensive line has, for the most part, been competent this year. And I can't believe I'm saying it, but Garrett Bradbury is a very big part of that. Never thought we would say that.
It's actually kind of weird. Once Bradbury went down, Kirk Cousins' numbers went up, which is weird because we threw a lot more. We had 400-yard games and 400-yard offensive games, and it got kind of crazy there with offense. And we went from like ninth in passing to fourth and fifth in passing over that course of time. But honestly, our offensive line got worse. So I don't know if it was the offensive game plan that opened, that you forced KOC to change the offensive game plan a little bit, or honestly, our running game kind of faltered in that time period. So we were relying more on the pass. But really, once Bradbury went down, I kind of lost faith in the offense. And even then, that was still a little bit of our weakness, because I don't think Ingram has transitioned to the NFL quite yet. I still have high hopes for him. I think he's a monster run blocker. He levels people, and that's what I saw of him in college when I did a post draft review, thinking, hey, we probably could have got him later, but I'm glad we got him, kind of thing. But yeah, offensive line, I want Bradbury out there if he's healthy. That's what I'm saying. If he's healthy, put him out there. If he's not healthy, then Chris Reed's probably, hopefully got this snap thing down. I think he made strides. We still had some delay of game penalties, and I think that was on Kirk, admittedly. And I think but we did have some false starts, and I don't know if it's a timing issue still. Hopefully, they decided to give him all the snaps, keep that guy they brought in on the sidelines in practice, and just give Chris Reed everything. And hopefully he's ready to go against the Giants. And I know you were talking about the blitzing of the Giants that burned them in the end, right? When we got in range for the 61-yard field goal. Do you think we're more prepared? The fact that we faced them once and they blitzed like crazy the entire game, that we're more prepared for it this time?
I think it can only help that we just played these guys 3 weeks ago. I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can do to reinvent their game plan in 3 weeks time. So it's kind of like seeing them as a division rival, like we see Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit twice a year. So I think we have a pretty good idea on what they're going to do, both offensively and defensively. Conversely, they have a pretty good idea what we're going to do on both sides of the ball. The biggest change between the two games is, here again, the fact that we don't have O'Neal out at right tackle. I think that's. And
do you think they showed us too much? You think they might have showed us too much, and that's going to hurt them, and we could take advantage of that?
It's possible. I mean, my biggest concern, I guess, is the simple fact that, as we like to call him on our show, Ed Donashell with his soft zone, soft zone deep coverage stuff that we're playing 7 to 10 yards off the wide receivers on most plays. When we get to this game, we can't let Daniel Jones sit back there like he did in that Christmas Eve game. I mean, I think we had one sack up until the fourth quarter. Then we finally got a couple in late, but there needs to be more pressure.
We made him look all pro, man.
Yeah. Well, the Vikings defense has a real bad habit of doing that. I mean, we did it with Mac Jones. We did it with Daniel Jones. We did it with
White from the Jets.
Yeah, Mike White.
He didn't have any touchdown passes though, but he had a lot of yards.
No, but it thrown quite a bit. Yeah, we were able to hold the Jets to field goals, and I think.
Oh, and Miami quarterbacks 400 some yards against us.
Yeah, so it's and we have shown in spurts during the season that we can be aggressive. We can get pressure with well-timed blitzes. I'm not saying we need to blitz on every play like a 12-year-old playing Madden on easy mode or something like that. But you need to have those well-timed.
49-year-olds can do that too.
Well, yeah, I do it as well. So yeah, but you know what I'm saying? They need to be well-timed when the offense isn't expecting them at critical points. Because we've seen Daniel Jones for 5 years now, 4 years. We know that if you get in his face and make him uncomfortable, he'll make mistakes. He'll throw interceptions. Now, towards the end, the last part of the year, he hasn't really done that. But, I think the seeds are still there. If we can make him uncomfortable, it makes this game a whole lot easier for us.
Quick shout outs to Raymond. Thanks for joining us. Hope and Bradbury. Yeah, we talked about that.
Hey, stop with Raymond. Hey, Raymond, you won the Chuck Foreman jersey behind me.
Awesome.
So if you're still listening, make sure you email me at mnsportspodcast mnsportspodcast@gmail.com. mnsportspodcast@gmail.com. I also put that message in the community tab, so email me your address and I'll get that jersey behind me out to you. Congratulations, Raymond.
That was compliments of Foreman when he agreed to come on with us. He gave you a couple bobbleheads in that jersey.
Yeah,
if I recall
couple Spin Doctor bobbleheads and a Chuck Foreman jersey, and they gave me a T-shirt.
Circling back, my worthless opinion. We always appreciate when you join us in the zone as well. And he does remind us that White did, I believe, have that one touchdown pass. David also.
We had one. Oh yeah.
Dave was pointing out to our fact here again. They need to contain Thibodeau or Kirk's in trouble. I absolutely agree there. Question on the table. What about Z? I'm assuming he means Zadarius Smith. Yeah, I think he was just kept out because it was a meaningless game.
Personal issue.
Personal issues.
Yeah, they listed it as a personal issue, so he didn't practice because of it too. So.
Yeah, and then he traveled to the game on his own. He didn't go with the team the way it sounded too. But yeah, he'll play this week. I have no concerns about that. Shout out to our boy Rap. Okay, he said the contest was rigged, and I totally agree with him. We had opportunity. Okay, and now serious. Rap from Purple Pocket Podcast is who Dave does his show with the Purple Code, and we all contribute to each other there as well. Circling back to what you were saying about Ed Donaschle, what I had gone with, midway through the season was maybe Donaschle thinks that this defense is what it is, and if I blitz too often, then I'm kind of showing my cards, and maybe he's just always saving those for the fourth quarter because, you don't want to tip your hand too much. If you do too many blitzes earlier on, then maybe they're not as effective. Now, I have since backed off on that opinion to say, hey, you know what? If you're down 40-3 in the fourth quarter because you haven't blitzed because you were saving them, it doesn't do you any good. So we'll take our chances with that. But to your point earlier, Dave, that last drive before the 61-yard field goal, I think it was like 3rd and 12 or something when he hit Justin Jefferson for 17 yards, and he was absolutely under pressure. I think they brought the entire house.
They went full house on us on that one. Yeah.
So to answer, I think that they are going to be more prepared. Now, again, they're going to have to make some slight adjustments because they're not using the same offensive line, but I do think that the Giants probably showed a little bit more in that game than we did. I mean, we jumped out to a 10-0 lead and then, kind of went into our shell that we always do. And then, the touchdown passes to Hawkinson and eventually JJ before the final drive. I think the Vikings got more in the deck that they haven't shown than the Giants do. Do you think I'm on to something, Rhino? Or do you think I'm on something?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this, again, more times we probably need to on our show that, over the season. We have yet to see this team play a complete game in all three phases of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. Offensively, we still tend to do that. Start out decent and then go into that hibernation for a quarter and a half, and then we'll wake up in the fourth quarter again. I've made this assertion all year long that if that offense can hit on all cylinders and get in its groove like we all know it's capable of doing, there's not a team in this league that I'm scared of.
Correct. I agree.
On the defensive side of things, there needs to be a balance. I'm not saying we go from Donaschle and his 3-deep shell coverage that he's been playing way too much all year to Wake Martindale, for instance, and zero blitzes on every snap or something like that. But there needs to be a balance in between there.
Agreed.
And we've got the players on defense that can do this, but you cannot be dropping Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter into coverage. Those guys are pass rushers. You've got Brian Asamoah now, who's gaining more playing time as a fast linebacker. Kendricks and Hicks have both lost at least a step, I think. So being able to mix Asamoah in there to get some speed at linebacker that can cover those tight ends and things like that. Probably the biggest surprise all year long has been Duke Shelley.
Yes.
A guy that we picked up on from the $5 movie bin at Walmart, at the beginning of the season, to being, what is he, the third ranked, I believe, by PFF cornerback in the league this year.
Yeah, I think we found something with him. I don't think he's necessarily an all-around corner. When we picked him up, I started looking back at, whatever I could on him, and he looked like a fairly good cover corner. And then he came in and he made a big play against Buffalo that saved a touchdown. And then he just has looked solid. And he's actually been a willing tackler too. And so he's kind of won me over as potentially our, CB 1 or 2 next year, depending on who we draft or whether or not we keep Peterson, because I think people still are not really sold on Patrick Peterson. He's like top 6 ranked corner in PFF too, like 83 something. And he's looked pretty solid all year round, in my opinion. Do you think it's smart to bring him back at least for one more year with all these? Who the hell do we got at corner situation we got going on?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think Pat P has played really well this year. There's been a few spots here and there.
I know $4 million for sure.
There's been a few spots here and there where he's kind of drove me nuts.
Like a double move.
He's got, what game was it here? A couple games.
He got a holding penalty in this. He got a holding penalty in this last game or whatever, illegal contact, whatever, on a double move. Yeah, he's been susceptible to that.
Yeah. So I mean, he's reaching that point where eventually he's teetering at that top and he's going to fall over that edge pretty soon. But I'm not convinced you couldn't, do like you did with Woodson and some of these other guys late in their career, move him from cornerback into safety or something like that.
Right.
But the leadership that Patrick Peterson provides to this team, especially with a group of young cornerbacks, whether it be Dantzler, whether it be a Caleb Evans, whether it be Andrew Booth, Duke Shelley's a young guy, having that veteran leadership in that back end is very key, I think. I don't think we can wait till as long as we did this last time, because honestly, he had a bad season last year. Yeah, there was nothing good about it. I said bring him back for like $5 million. We got him for $4 million. I thought that was a decent. That was nice. I thought. And then he said I'm gonna make up for my last season, and he did. And I don't think he's gonna go for $4 million this year. And I do think people are gonna offer him a little more money and sooner, and not have to wait as long. So we may have to like jump out of the gun to get him. I don't know what we're going to be willing to pay with our situation, but yeah, I think it's a smart move bringing him back with the corner situation we have, and we're not going to get a top guy in the draft. I don't think we got issues all around the team that and we're going to be losing some vets probably. We got issues all over the board, and I think if we have a Peterson and a Duke Shelley, we may have our 1 and 2 and some decent guys behind him. And I think, Evans and Dantzler, and I'm forgetting another. Oh yeah, and hopefully Boo Jr. comes back healthy and shows the value we put into him in the draft. So yeah. And go ahead. I was going to say just one more thing on Duke Shelley. I mean, this is a little bit of a spicy hot take, but when I watch Duke Shelley play, I see some shades of Antoine Winfield Sr. He's not. I'm not saying he's Antoine Winfield, but he has a lot of characteristics of the way Antoine Winfield played. And that
I'd have to say Antoine Winfield hit a lot harder than Duke Shelley.
He did. Like I said,
I get what you're saying. He's scrappy.
Yeah, he's kind of a Winfield light, if you want to put it that way. But Duke Shelley's his own guy, but there are certain aspects of his game that remind me of watching Winfield play.
No, I said it on my show last night.
Too. I think Duke, they're about the same size.
Yeah, they're both like 5'10", 5'11", somewhere there, yeah.
I like this one. Walmart, Shelley at least came from Target.
That's a good one. No, I was just going to say that about Shelley Ryan. As I said, I said on my last night show, he's not at Winfield's level as of yet, but he started out as a slot cornerback, and unlike Winfield, he can do a lot more on the outside than Winfield could, I would think. And one thing that I had been saying the last few weeks before this really took off was I really like Duke Shelley in the red zone. We all know about that breakup he had in overtime against the Bills. And I said, I like him as our fourth cornerback, and I like him in the red zone because, it's more confined of an area, and I don't know how well he would do in the open field, but he's broken that mold to say, no, this guy is a legit starter, and I don't care what his size is. Now, again, he's not going to be, a Xavier Rhodes type, but to the points that have been made here, he hits like a Mack truck, and, he tackles people. And when he gets his hands on somebody, they go down. There isn't, hey, well, broke a tackle and went for 10 more yards. No, when he sticks them, he sticks them.
Mm-hmm.
I liked he kept he almost had an interception earlier in the game, but the freaking receiver's like 6'5".
Yeah.
And took it, knocked it away from him. But then he came back, and he probably should have just knocked the ball down, because that was 4th down when he caught that interception. But hey, why not? Let's go spike it on the Bears logo. I think that might. I don't know when that will haunt us, but it may come back and haunt us that we just spiked the ball on the Green Bay or on the Bears C in Soldier Field. But he had recovery speed on that. I think it was a poorly thrown ball, but he was kind of beat and had recovery, and he was able to recover on it. So he's a little faster, and I think, than I thought when we first got him. So there's nothing I don't like about him, man. Other than I wish he was 2 or 3 inches taller. That'd be awesome. But hey, can't all be perfect. So, but he plays a little bigger than he is. I think maybe he's longer. I guess I didn't check out his wingspan or anything, but he seems he plays a little bit longer than a 5'10".
Shout out to Mark Lopez. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate the compliments. I'm going to say this one here now. If you want to put your score predictions, go ahead and put those in the chat now. I'll star them and save them for later. So when we get to the prediction segment, I'm not asking for it and then getting bombarded. So if you're in the chat, put your score predictions in. We'll get back to them later.
Don't piss off Justin with your late score predictions. Damn it.
Just like the Vikings, you got to score late to make it close.
Make sure you hit like, too. I think we only got 10 likes on this video. Let's go.
It's funny. The same guy who just said that is the same guy who says I have bad clock management.
You do. You have terrible clock management.
Yes, exactly. So that being said,
we went an hour 20 last time.
That was was that with Foreman too that we went an hour 20?
Well, no. You actually were okay with him, but with Ted.
That's right.
You guys went well over an hour with Ted last week.
Yeah. Ted, I mean, he's
he had the bedtime to get to, man.
Ted's a podcasting legend. I mean, you can't go short with him. So.
Yeah, we were pretty shocked how we got to get him on. I pulled that one.
Ted's a good dude. I love him and Drew have helped us out a ton. I love those guys. They've been a great help. They're good friends, and wish those guys all the best and everything they're doing too. And their podcast is taking off like wildfire, and I couldn't be happier for them.
Yeah, Ted's a good dude.
One of the things I'm hoping to do is I usually come home, like I live in South Florida. I grew up in South Dakota.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, man, I'm good. I'm doing good here in Florida, but I want to come home, and I thought, hey, let's have a Purple Con. And have you get as many YouTubers together in the same place, all the Twitter people, and just have a big get together and invite anybody who wants to show up. I think that'd be fun. I think it would be
awesome.
Good for us to get together. And like I come home during the summer, but I thought maybe I pick one game out of the year and try to get guys like Justin and the GG Sports guys to kind of do the the legwork for me. But I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see. I would love to get that going. That'd be fun.
NFC Championship game, Dave. You got to get up here. There you go.
No, not this year. Just start a new job.
Yeah, I know. I'm messing with you. That being said, Rhino, let's move into what we're anticipating here in the playoffs here. And if it's all right with you, and Dave, you as well here, you guys want to talk about the other games and your thoughts first and finish with the Vikings last, or do you want to just eschew that?
Yeah, it's you guys' show. You hit it however you want to, and I'll comment with what I got.
So the first question I'll ask is, do the Seahawks have any chance of beating the 49ers and allowing us, after we beat the Giants, to stay at home? I'll start with that one. That's the easy one.
Probably an unpopular opinion, but I think they do. I mean, they're a division rival. It always seems like division rivalry games tend to be a lot tighter. As we all know, it's hard for a team to beat another team 3 times in a year. And, I mean, Pete Carroll is tried and tested in playoffs, and other than the ill-fated throw at the goal line in the last Super Bowl he was in, I mean, the guy's a good coach. Now, I don't know that I trust Geno Smith all that much, but I still think on San Francisco's side of the ball that the glass slipper that Brock Purdy's wearing is going to shatter one of these days too. I seriously don't think that he is. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there, to be honest with you. With you've got McCaffrey and you've got Deebo Samuel and all these other weapons around there that are making him look probably better than he is. I mean, the guy was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. He was, So
I've been saying since about week 6 that the one team I don't want to face is San Francisco. And the smoke and mirrors that you are alluding to is that they have an incredible offensive line. They also have an incredible defensive line. I think they're the best combination of O-line, D-lines in the league at this point. But yes, you could, if you put Kirk Cousins on that team, they would pert near go undefeated. So yeah. I think to what you're saying is what I've said. I think, yes, Brock Purdy can be got to if you can get to him, which that's pretty much why he hasn't been touched. I mean, I don't even know how many. He's very, very low in hits and sacks taken since he's been in there. Dave, what do you think? Seattle got a shot or no?
What is not possible, Alex?
Fair enough. Second game on Saturday is 2 quarterbacks making their playoff debut, and Justin Herbert.
Is that some dry humor there? I don't know. That was my Jeopardy answer. That was my Jeopardy answer.
Justin Herbert.
That's the one game I'm calling and putting a lock on it.
What's that?
San Fran's winning.
Yeah,
that's
I think they do too, but I do think it'll be closer than a lot of people think.
Where did I go? Jacksonville hosting the Chargers. 2 first-time quarterbacks in Lawrence and Herbert. What do you think?
This, I think, it has the potential to probably be one of the better games of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, 2 really good young quarterbacks. We've saw the maturation of Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville now that he has a coach that's actually semi-competent and not spending his time walking around the practice field kicking his kicker in the backside and things like that. But if the Chargers are another one of those teams that if they play up to the potential, there's not a lot of teams that can hang with them. Mm-hmm. But their problem is that they have a lot of times during the season and during games when they kind of do what we do and kind of go into a bit of a shell for a while. So it all depends on which Chargers team shows up on that one, I guess. I kind of think Jacksonville pulls it off, but I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other.
What's funny about those 2 teams are they're very, very streaky teams. Jacksonville lost 7 out of 9 games at one point, including 5 in a row, and the Chargers won 5 out of their last 6 before the meaningless game against Denver here. And Vegas does have them as a pick 'em, and rightfully so. I honestly don't know which way I'm probably going to go Jacksonville, but for home field advantage and the fact that West Coast teams going east. But I agree with you. That has the opportunity to be not only the closest game, but the most entertaining game of the weekend. Does Miami, regardless of Tua, have any shot in Buffalo, or should we just breeze through that one there? Because I don't see Miami going into Buffalo in January.
No.
What say you?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to go with Dave's answer on the last one. What is no chance in hell for 1,000?
No chance in hell, Alex. What is no chance in hell? Yeah, I have a Miami Dolphins friend, and I live in South Florida, but he's actually from Alabama and lives in Nashville. His dad grew up in South Florida, so that's why he's a Miami fan. He says all we have to do is beat America's team, and then we got to go beat Kansas City, and then what do we got to do? We got to go beat Cincinnati to get to the Super Bowl. They probably had the hardest road to any Super Bowl in the history of roads. So yeah, I don't see Miami getting past this game. That's crazy, especially going into the from South Florida to the weather. And it was a tough environment for us. I couldn't imagine this time late in the season with, you're probably what quarterback's going to be quarterbacking. I don't even know. I
don't think anybody knows.
I don't think anybody knows. So yeah, sorry, this is the game I can guarantee more than the San Francisco game. I'll give it that. This is the game I would guarantee that's
I don't think
going to be Bills.
whether Tua plays or not, or whoever else. I'm sorry, they're not beating Buffalo. Okay, Ravens at Bengals. We'll breeze through this one here as well. I don't care if Lamar Jackson plays or not. I'm taking Cincinnati.
I don't either. I mean,
Bengals are hot right now.
And watching what the Bengals did going through the playoffs last year, I love Joe Burrow. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I love the swagger. I love the Joe Cool. I think he's going to be one of those next generation elite. Your Brady's, your Rodgers, your that kind of stuff coming forward. Again, it's going to be him. It's going to be Mahomes. It's going to be Josh Allen. That kind of stuff.
What did he say? He said, "With me, our window is always open."
Yeah, he said, as long as I'm playing quarterback, our window's open.
Our window will always be open.
That's the kind of that's the kind of swagger I like, especially if you just talk crap like that and can't back it up, then shut up and go home. But he can back it up, and if you're going to be confident and you can back it up, I'm all in. It's Cincinnati's got this one as far as I'm concerned.
So what you're saying is don't be Jalen Reagor and say, no, we got these guys when you're like –
if Jalen Reagor does that again, I'm driving down to Egan and personally kicking him in the ass. So.
Yeah, there you go. Monday Night Football, wildcard weekend. What is this, the second year we've done that? We've got the Dallas Cowboys, 12 wins, fourth best record in the conference, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won the most garbage divisions in the history of divisions, where every team 8-9 for Tampa Bay and every other team 7-10. I've maintained that I don't have an issue with division winners getting into the playoffs, but once the playoff teams are determined, they should be seeded based on records. Yes, if a division winner is tied with a wild card, I'll give him that tiebreaker, but I think it's ridiculous that Dallas has to go on the road. What say you about this game? They played in week 1. Tampa Bay won 19-3, but that was ages ago. What do you think, boss?
I mean, Dallas has not played real well the last few weeks. I mean, yeah, they beat Philadelphia with Gardner Minshew playing quarterback, but
barely.
Yeah, barely. I'm going to preface the whole thing by saying Dallas is probably they are in my 2 to 3 least favorite teams in the league. I think, and I've discounted Tom Brady before, and it's bit me in the ass. I'm never going to count Tom Brady out until he's actually out. I think Tampa Bay finds a way to win this one.
What do you think, Dave?
I'm leaning Tampa myself. I just think, big game. Dak Prescott's set an NFL record for most interceptions in a row, games in a row. I don't know. They're not. I was worried about Dallas, especially when you were hitting a high note with us. But now I like Tom Brady in the playoffs. Let's see what he can do. It's gonna be a home game. What kind of Prescott's gonna show up? We'll see what happens. Tom's made for this.
I'm going to ask you guys both a separate question. Let's say that Seattle somehow manages to beat San Francisco and we win our game against the Giants. Then we would play the winner in US Bank Stadium of said game that we just talked of. As a Viking fan, if those two things happened on Monday night, who are you pulling for as the team that you want to see coming to US Bank Stadium in the divisional round? Rhino?
Ugh, that's a tough one.
That's why we have you under the lights, man.
Hey, exactly.
Lights.
I think, honestly, I would still rather face – it's a toss-up, but I think I'll take Tampa Bay. Getting into that, how we tend to play close games and stuff, I think that would be a very good game. And it come down to whether or not, who can make the last play at the end probably. I do think that game against Dallas was an anomaly that we played, back a few weeks ago. And the way Dallas is playing now, I think it would be a different result. But I guess having to choose between the two, I think I'd still take Tampa Bay.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I would. I don't know. Playing a team that beat you 40-3 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
A lot to a little.
Yeah, I don't like the stigma us facing the same team again because you're kind of expecting something bad to happen again. I'd probably rather see Tampa, and I think it'd be more. I think for us it'd be fun to see Tom Brady in US Bank Stadium, so that'd be pretty cool. I want to face Tom.
I'll say this. I'd love first off, my compatriot Mike Castellino, who I do the show on the Purple Code with on Mondays, he said this about a month ago when it was apparent that unless Dallas caught Philly, which wasn't going to happen, that they were going to be the 5 seed, and we all knew that the winner of the South was going to be the 4 seed. And he said right then and there, Tampa Bay is absolutely going to beat Dallas. He said that a month ago, and I said, I don't see it, but now that it's happened, we are just a few days away. Assuming that Seattle does beat San Francisco, I absolutely would rather play Tom Brady and the Bucs, and I'd love to be the team that finally puts Tom Brady into retirement for good. But that's just me. What you going with, Zone, here after this loss?
I think he plays next year.
You think so? All right. Well,
I think he does too. I think he does too.
Is he how old?
Tom Brady
45 right now? I think.
I think he's 45. Yeah, Tom Brady.
He's divorced now, man.
Right. I mean,
whatever he wants.
He threw away his marriage and his family and everything else to play this year. So now he's got some new hotsy-totsy young girlfriend. So she's showing up at the games wearing a Tom Brady jersey and all that other stuff. Why not keep playing?
He's doing okay.
Yeah, I think he'll be just
Can't
fine.
Keep a man down.
Yeah, no, right.
And now he said he wants to play till he's 50. And like I said a few minutes ago, I've come to learn over the years to never doubt Tom Brady. So I think he's back next year. I don't think he's back with Tampa. But I think he is back.
He grew up a San Francisco fan too.
Yeah, maybe he goes out there if they decide to trade Trey Lance.
I mean, I saw a rumor not too awful long ago that there was a conversation about potentially Sean Payton going back to New Orleans and then Tom Brady coming in and being the quarterback over there, which Tampa.
I totally thought this was going to happen. He was going to go to Dallas. But then they played good, so I don't know what the situation will be now.
Yeah, but I think Tom's around again next year. I don't think he knows how to do anything else.
Right. And Dallas meant Sean Payton. I didn't mean
Brady. Yeah, right. Yeah. But I think McCarthy, and Jerry Jones came out, I believe it was today, and said that even if McCarthy they lose in the wild card round, it's not going to affect McCarthy's job status. So that's Jerry Jones.
Sure. Why do you even feel the need to say something?
Why would you even say that?
Right.
I think somebody asked him about it, just because of the Sean Payton rumors, and everybody's always
shut up. I would just, if I was the head coach and I had FU money like he's got, I'd be like, shut up. That's a dumb question. Get out.
But we also know Jerry Jones is a carnival barker, and he loves the limelight, and he loves to stir the pot.
I guess any publicity is good publicity to him. Yeah, you're right.
Well, Reggie brings up a good point. Brady has never lost to the Vikings, whether we get him in the NFC Championship game or we get him in the divisional round. That's also a very good point that this would be the year to exercise that demon. Well, I think we've gone through all the games. Oh, wait, there's one more left. So let's, without going into the score predictions, I mean, we talked a little bit about the offensive line earlier, but outside of that, what do you see the biggest area of concern or the biggest key to this game is for you? What are you looking for, Rhino?
Well, like I said, the offensive line, notwithstanding, keeping out Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence and so on and so forth, I think it's got to be the defense. Donatel is going to have to dial up some more pressure, be more aggressive than he typically is. We've shown that a few times, since that streak where we gave up 426 yards a game for like a 5-game stretch there.
Right.
We have the players that can do it. Like I mentioned earlier, do not be dropping Danielle Hunter or Zadarius Smith into coverage. Those guys are pass rushers. They're not cover linebackers. I think a little more aggression on that side of things is going to be good. It would be nice. I think we need to get the running game going so we can hit that play action. I look for Hawkinson to have another big game. I look for Jefferson to ball out in this one, as he tends to do. I mean, they both had well over 100 yards the last time we saw them. But if they start rolling more coverage towards those two, KJ Osborne has shown the last couple of weeks that, he can step up and take some of those passes. He's had 200-yard games in the last, out of the last, 4 or 5, whatever it's been.
4. Yep.
So, we're starting to get into that, hopefully pick your poison kind of thing with the offense a little bit more as far as weapons go. Even Jalen Naylor has stepped up, the last couple of games and shown that if you put him in and give him some opportunities, he can make plays. I want to see the offense start fast and keep the foot on the gas the entire game. I don't want to see that, hey, we're up 10-0. We're going to go take a nap for a quarter and a half.
Oh.
And then, we'll come back in the fourth quarter and then close it out if we need to. I would like to see us go out there and absolutely curb stomp the Giants. I mean, we typically don't know how to win that way, but like I also mentioned, if we're clicking on all cylinders, I don't think there's a team in the league that can stop us. And I would love to see that in the playoffs.
We owe those guys a 41 donut burger anyway, don't we?
Oh, absolutely we do.
God, that still haunts me. I wake up in sweats.
Yeah. I'll say this, a couple things here. The first game, Dalvin Cook only had 14 carries, and it was like for 60-some yards, I believe, somewhere in that vicinity. And I don't know if that was play calling or if it was just we couldn't do anything to get the running game going. But I actually, and I said this yesterday, I honestly think that, right now it's like an 80-20 split between Cook and Madison, and I'd like to see it closer to 60-40. I'll tell you why. I think Madison at this point has shown that he is a better goal line back than Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, again, really shifty, better speed, but he's kind of got the whole Robert Smith, Leroy Horde thing where, Robert Smith would be obviously the better back and he'd be between the 20s and Horde would come in, in the red zone and goal line situations. Am I out of my mind thinking that these two kind of resemble them or no? What do you think?
Before you go, Leroy Horde, if you need 3 yards, we'll get you 3 yards. If you need 4 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. I don't think it was something like that. However he said it was close. It was close, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably onto something there. The thing that's been absolutely driving me nuts the last few weeks is that insistence on running Dalvin Cook in the A gap behind a backup center and a backup center
down in the 1 yard line. Yeah. I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah. No, Madison is bigger. He's got more power. Madison doesn't have near the vision that Dalvin Cook does, but using Madison as more of a sledgehammer to get those tough yards, I think is a good idea. I've kind of had issue with the way O'Connell's been calling his short yardage plays the last few weeks. That looking back to that Green Bay game when we had that punt block and we get it at the 1 yard line, we can't punch it in. That's case in point right there. But I think, using Madison in some of those areas instead of Cook is a good idea. But being a little more creative in just short yardage in general, not this. It seems like we're either going to try to pound it up that A gap when everybody knows we're going to. We're going to run some stupid pass play to shoot 80 yards down the field when we only need to get 2 to get a first down.
Let's go to the weakest part of our line, and run it right up them. What the hell? Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing too. Kind of talking about the offensive line, we saw this, a couple times this year where Kirk is back there absolutely getting hammered because we keep doing these 5 and 7 step drops.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to start having issues with the Giants putting pressure on Kirk, which I think is probably going to happen, we need to work on getting the ball out quicker. Some, 3-step drops, boom, hit Jefferson on a short cross or something to get him to back off a little bit. Because if we're killing them with that short stuff, those quick hitters, they're not going to be able to blitz, and that will slow things down and give us a little chance to open up some of that other stuff too. But
our screen game never looked better than the Giants game. Honestly, they decided to bring this last game against the Bears. They decided to bring back the tight end screen.
Yeah, that's got to stop.
Worked so terribly all year long, and they got away from it. And they decided to bring it back just for posterity's sake and play it in this Bears game, which was awful. I think we did it to Smith Jr. So yeah.
I like JRP's comment. We could win 41 donut, we'd still be called fraud. We could win the Super Bowl, we'd still be called frauds. But that's
worst Super Bowl champion ever in the history of the NFL.
Yes. You guys
negative 3-point differential.
Yeah.
Worst Super Bowl champion in history of the Super Bowl champions.
Well, getting back to a point you made about spreading around on the offense in the passing game, I did a quick short today saying that, okay, in the red zone and on third down, Thielen still has it. But outside of that, if you're running a 2 wide receiver game, I'm sorry. I know Adam Thielen's like, one of us. We get that. But he doesn't have it anymore. And I'm sorry.
No.
If we're going to be running 2 tight end sets and 2 wide receivers now that Irv Smith is back, I'm sorry. I want it to be JJ and KJ out there. Again, am I onto something or on something, Rhino? What do you think?
I think you're 100% onto something right there. We've talked about this all year long as well. Adam Thielen is not the Adam Thielen of old. I think since in the last 2 years, I think he's only had 200-yard receiving games, if I remember correctly. So it's something right in that range, but he's kind of fallen into the Kyle Rudolph thing where YAC stands for yard after catch, because he's not getting separation anymore. His hands are as good as they ever were. So in that, like you said, red zone area, things like that, he's still a valuable asset. But when you're trying to play him out in between the 20s, he's just not able to get that separation that he once was. So it's painfully evident that he's not keyed in on that, being that number 1 target hitter. I think TJ Hawkinson has taken over most of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tend to agree with you that I would like to see KJ Osborne running more as that number 2 wide receiver and Thielen being the number 3. But
Dave, how about Rap tells us that he wasn't listening to what we were saying without him actually telling us he wasn't listening? Nobody said he was a number 1 back, Rap. What we said was we want to see a little bit more instead of it being an 80-20 to a 60-40.
I just said he had. I didn't even say anything. I just
right.
I was complaining about the play calling, but Madison needs to be more goal line than for sure. He showed it in that Bears game that he could take it in the end zone. I think short yardage plays, Madison needs to be in there, and we need to run that ball out more outside with Dalvin Cook, and he's been running him between the guards, for heaven's sake. Let's get him more outside. Let's more misdirection. I love that pitch play we do. It's only not worked one time, but hey, I'm glad we didn't do it against the Bears. I'm glad we didn't do it against the last few games, so people forget about it and they'll work in the playoffs. And I think I saw who did it last night. It was the Lions did it last night, so it worked for them too. It seems to always work.
Speaking of that hook and ladder that they called on 2nd and 17, holy cow, that was a sweet play. But I digress. Well, I guess for me, I don't have a problem with occasionally having Dalvin Cook run in the A or B gaps, because you can't just always toss play him. But get some more of those jet sweeps. Heck, KJ, JJ,
or even fake the jet sweep or whatever.
Something,
we got the players that can do it. Naylor, Rager, we got players that can do that. Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, get Raylor or Jalen or Nager in there for a couple of plays here and there. Get them just a couple of touches, just to show them something else that they probably haven't seen before. Well, we said we were going to try to keep it so we're to an hour. We're already at an hour and 5 minutes. So Rhino, we'll start with you. What's going to happen on Sunday starting at 3:25?
I think we're going to see a lot of what we've seen pretty much all year long. It's going to be a close game, probably a 1-score game, just like seems like. We bookended the season with multi-score games, but other than that, everything we played was a 1-score game when we were victorious. I think, the Giants threw out some bulletin board material this week about US Bank Stadium not being as loud as they expected and that kind of stuff. I think, that's probably going to feed into it a little bit. I think the fact that we saw the Giants 3 weeks ago, I think is going to help us. It helps them as well, but I think from a planning standpoint, we know what we're going to expect as far as Martindale and his blitz packages and things like that. If we can get some more pressure on Daniel Jones, make things different. We've got to watch their run game. That's where they're gonna make their hay. If the run defense can hold up, I look for us to win the game. Probably going to be a one-score game again, but I think we move on.
What you got, Dave?
Ditto. No, it's literally ditto. I'm saying 27-20. I think it's one of those situations where we do take a lead and they do, score late to get it to 27-20. I'm a big fan of their quarterback, man. He's got 15 in the air, but 7 on the ground, and he's thrown 5 picks. I think he's from what I saw, a pretty decent decision maker. I know he stumbled over the white line on a touchdown run. Was it last year or the year before?
Mm-hmm.
That guy is super athletic.
Yeah,
it's almost like we don't want him to run the ball, and that's probably why we didn't went after him this last time. But hopefully they figure that out. I think they will. I don't think we made his receivers look like Pro Bowlers, and they don't got much, I don't think. And right. I just think if the thing about being aggressive, you're not just aggravating a quarterback. The receivers got to remember, I'm the hot route. What's my route if a blitz comes? You're making the receivers think too. And I don't think their receivers are up to par with their quarterback. And honestly, he's gonna get to write his ticket. This is his last year, right? He's a free agent because they didn't give him his 5th year. No. I mean, I think the guy can write his ticket next year. He's gonna make some serious cash, and Giants are probably gonna regret the fact that they didn't pick up his 5th year option. But 27. Well, they can still extend him and franchise him. Yeah, you're right. But 27-20. Vikings, let's do it. Make them eat their words. Make it loud. We had a 12th man in Minnesota. We had the 4th best home field advantage since the stadium was built. So yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Well, before I give mine, just want to give a quick shout out to our special guest here, Ryan, who does a podcast with Lance. His channel is Vikings Uncensored. If you subscribe to Purple and Gold for Days or Minnesota Sports Talk and you don't subscribe to Vikings Uncensored, first off, what is wrong with you? Because these guys are outstanding. But please subscribe to their channel. And again, if you're watching on my channel and you'd already subscribe to Dave, please do so, and vice versa. Okay, so we're going to get to what everybody else said here. So Jim, come on. Jim's got us winning 27-17. Reggie's got a 34-10.
I like that one better.
Yeah.
Reggie is the eternal optimist. He's one of our OGs and a good friend of ours.
Hey, make sure you go, since you're come listen to us too, man. Minnesota Sports Talk, Purple and Gold for Days. I want to see this jump up to 1453. Yes,
there you go. Jim also wanted to put out there that he thinks the Bills and Seahawks are going to win there. Well, we'll see. Jer's got us 2 touchdowns, 27-13. James got a 21-17. Mark's got a 27-21. And David's got a 31-23. Listen, we've been trying to speak it into existence for however many weeks that, this is going to be the week that the Vikings finally put it all together. Oh, got to get Guy Rapp in here, 28-24. Hey, Rap, put it in the chat. Are you still doing the lottery thing? Let me know, and then I'll pimp that if necessary. I will say this. I'm done trying to speak it into existence. I'm going to tell you right now, Vikings are going to win this game 35-21, and it will only be a 14-point game because the Giants are going to get a garbage time touchdown at the end. I think that this team is finally going to say, you know what? We're done playing the Donna Shell defense. We're going to come after this guy. We're going to contain Saquon Barkley, and offensively, they will do enough to finally get in rhythm and stay in rhythm. I've got the Vikings winning this game. Take the over, which, by the way, means absolutely nothing. And you probably should take the under now that I said the over on that.
Vikings put it all together.
They're putting it all together.
There we go.
News at 11.
In all seriousness. Before we wrap, Rhino, anything else? I mean, again, I just pimped your channel, and I've got it scrolling at the bottom there. But anything else you want to throw out there? You guys on Twitter as well?
Yeah, we're at on Twitter at Vikes Uncensored Podcast. Check us out there. I'm trying to be as active on there as I can.
Description. I'll put the link in the description for you.
Okay, yep, that's right.
Yep. As far as our podcast goes, we put out new episodes every Friday at 6 p.m. Central on our YouTube channel. Search for Vikings Uncensored. Link is down below there. Then we'll also, later on the weekend, we usually put it on our Facebook page as kind of a pregame show for the game on Sunday usually. I normally try to do live breaks, pregame, quarter break, halftime, and at the end, just to kind of a little live reaction to what's going on. So if you're keeping an eye out, check out the Facebook page. I'm usually doing that now that I'm off double secret probation again. But beyond that, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I had a great time here tonight, and looking forward to moving on to the divisional round.
I need to go back and look at your quarter breaks of the Colts game. I need to go back. I can imagine what that's like.
I think that was one of the ones I was on probation, so I don't think.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I've told this to our other guests, but I was actually at that game. My daughter and I, and my girlfriend and her son. It was her son and my daughter's first game at US Bank Stadium, first game period. And at halftime, we're like, why did we decide to bring them to this game of all games? They're just kind of bored, whatever. It was so bad that, you know how like in a preseason game, they'll take those programs and make paper airplanes and toss them over. They were doing that at the 2-minute warning of the second quarter. And after they went 3 and out to start the second half, if our kids weren't there, I might have seriously said, maybe we should get going. And so I'm glad that they were there. And by the end of it, it was spectacular for everybody, but they actually had a good taste in their mouth there. But
Rhino, did you see Yannick Eckhart on Twitter a lot?
Yeah, I see his stuff pop up every.
Well, he's from Germany, and he actually came for the first game of his career was the Colts game.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that.
Like, how crappy of a game this is. And Dusty Baker, Dusty Baker's gonna be my guest tomorrow on the Skull Experience, and but yeah, he invited Yannick to come over and go to this game, and he went to the Bears game too. So he's been a lucky charm, and he's gonna go to this Giants game. So hopefully he brings it 3 times. But yeah, the fact that you thought about leaving, he said, "Oh, I thought about leaving too," but I said, it's my first game, so he stuck it out. But I said, what a game to go to. Your first game ever is an NFL record, and you're from Germany. Of all the chances in the world, man, it's crazy. But that's
didn't Foreman say he left?
Well, he left. A lot of Vikings did. A lot of ex-Vikings players did.
Because they were there for the Miracle at the Met anniversary, if I recall correctly. Right?
Mm-hmm. So Foreman left. Also, Paul Krause left too. Yeah, he was there and he left too.
Well, with all that being said, thank you so much, Rhino, for joining us. We absolutely love to have you on again. I know we're all going to be keeping it going for the next few weeks here, but absolutely, if you are available, let us know. And having said all that, everybody, one more time, that's Vikings Uncensored. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Rhino's channel. Keep it tuned to Purple and Gold for days, as well as Minnesota Sports Talk. We're going to be putting out content pertinent every day, getting you ready for the Vikings wildcard game at 3:25 Central this Sunday. So that'll wrap the show tonight for Under the Lights. Thanks, everybody in the chat, for joining us. Again, like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate everybody who dropped by. And this is Justin for Dave and Rhino. Thanks again, and have a great evening. Skol Vikes.
Skol Vikes. Here's getting kicked off.